Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Drafts and Drafts. This is Drafts and Drafts with Timmy McBee and Adam E., and I am here with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Adam E. Adam, how are you doing tonight?
Not too bad. Spent the weekend tasting a lot of wine, but back here now, ready for some beer, ready for some drafts. So feeling good. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Do you ever get that like Monday hangover where it's like still sticking around with you on Monday? Is that a thing? I don't know. I feel like I get that a lot, so I don't know if I'm getting older, if it's just me or what.
I was a little groggy Monday morning for sure. Misspelled a lot in my typing, but that's not that different than usual. So
You're great speller normally. Sounds good.
I'd like to welcome and introduce our guest host this week. He is a man of many words and well known to some, and probably too well known to too many. This is a longtime friend of ours, Mr. Furlong. Furlong, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm feeling great. You know, we had the pre-show. It was pretty exciting. Had a lot of comments on the new do. Someone requested the pigtails, so I did that for them when we were off camera. And yeah, overall feeling pretty good. Excited to be chatting with two of my oldest and dearest pals, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, I gotta say, I've seen a lot of hairstyles, some better than others. I've never seen pigtails on you, and I think that might be the best one so far. I don't know.
I mean, you just wait.
Yeah. So, you know, this is of course episode 5 of Drafts and Drafts. We have this podcast every Tuesday night. And you know, before we start talking about this week's topic, I think we have to quickly jump into how things went last week. So for those that don't know, we had our first guest host ever last week, Kitty Cat. So Adam, why don't you take us through the results of how last week's draft went?
last week wasn't too great for the old normal hosts. Timmy McBee had 20%. Adam E had 22% of the vote. Kitty Cat with 58% of the vote. Kind of got destroyed there.
Yeah, 58% is that's a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a bloodbath,
especially in a 3-person. That's tough. I mean, I don't know. I Kitty Cat's not here to defend herself, so I feel like I can kind of say whatever I want. I think it might have been a bit of guest favoritism. I'm not sure. I think people were just looking to support any. I don't know. I mean, were her picks better? The public seems to think so.
Personally, guest favoritism is fine. I think I've always thought that.
Yeah, I think
vote for the guest anytime you don't know who to vote for. I think tonight, if anyone feels that way, that's a good, safe thing to do, is just voting for the guest, probably.
I don't know. I think a lot of the people know Furlong, and I was chatting with a couple of our regular viewers, and the sentiment I got, it might go against you. We don't know. We'll see. But Adam, how are you feeling after last week and then going into this week, especially going up against the master of debate, Furlong over here?
Master debater.
Yeah, last week I found out that a lot more people hate James Corden than I thought. And I also got told, I think twice, that people voted for Kitty Cat having no idea who Brian Rod was. So that makes me feel especially bad about my bartender pick. But
yeah,
the way it goes. This week, definitely going to be more wide open. Might have a couple glass frogs up my sleeve, but we'll have to wait and see.
You better know that. Yeah, for those that are either watching for the first time or may not know, Drafts and Drafts is a show where we pick a topic or a theme every week, and the 2 or 3 of us run through 6 different categories. And what we're going to do is, there's a category, we each draft something in that category, and we work our way down through the 6 categories. And then at the end of the show, we'll do a quick recap, and we're going to put up an Instagram poll, and we rely on you guys to tell us who you think had the best drafted team of the week. Our Instagram can be found on the screen if you're watching, but it's at Drafts and Drafts Podcast. So we'll usually post the poll about an hour after the show concludes, and it's up all day tomorrow for those that are watching. So with that being said, Adam, why don't you take the crowd through the topic and the categories for this week?
Yeah, so this week we're doing inventions or invention-related things. Starting off with historical invention, something before the 1900s.
1800s?
Which is 1800 the year,
Oh,
because I
yeah.
know there's a few people in chat that no way they'll understand. So 1800 the year is the cutoff.
Yeah.
A millennial invention, which is an invention made after the year 2000. An infomercial product. A fictional invention. First overall inventor, so someone for your invention team. And worst invention.
And so, Furlong, I gotta ask, where does your expertise come into play here? How are you going to match up? Where are you pulling from? You know, what's
That's
your
a
knowledge?
Great question, and I think it's pretty clear that I probably have the most experience in this category out of the three of us. A little backstory for the listeners here: when we were in university, we used to enjoy a game called Wacky Races drinking game. And in that show, there are a bunch of different racers, and we all picked one that was our favorite racer. And when they did various things, we would responsibly consume an alcoholic beverage. And my personal choice was Professor Pat Pending. And I've always felt a strong affinity for Pat Pending. He was a wacky inventor. His machine could transform into all manner of things. And so even if I didn't have any other experience in inventions, that alone just overqualifies me for this situation.
That's that's pretty fair. I think my car was the lumberjack. I can't remember his name, but he really only had one thing. And of course, I know Adam was a big Muttley fan, so
Yeah.
I did like Muttley, but I had the Arkansas Chug-a-Bug. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was I forgot about that. That was some fun times. For those that don't know, Furlong, Adam, and I were university friends, and so we've known each other for I guess over a decade now, and we've stayed in touch. And Furlong's also got a bit of education in some deep history. So we're I'm a little concerned going into the historical invention category, but it's a really big window, and I got some good picks, so I feel like it's gonna be okay. Before we jump into the invention draft, though, we got to do our usual, and we got to talk about the second draft of the night, and that's the drafts that we're consuming. So, Furlong, what are you drinking tonight?
Great question. I have three that I will be consuming tonight. The first one is called Bearded Prospector. It is a cream ale, which I'm not overly stoked about, but I felt like a prospector is like we're blazing trails, inventions abound. So that makes sense. Second one, I don't even know if he is in the chat yet, but we've had just an overwhelming amount of requests from Biggie Big for Flying Monkey. So I got Sparkle Puff Galaxy Starfighter Defender of the Universe, because some of my picks will be out of this world. And finally, I have Electric Unicorn, because like the unicorn, a fabrication of the human mind, all inventions at one point started in the mind. And I think that is going to just ease me right in to the wheelhouse that I'm looking to be in all night.
Okay, you've thought this through, and you're really leaning into the drafts plural, which I like, because
there was talk, obviously consuming responsibly is what I'm known for, but there was talk last week about having like the second draft, which is we're here for what, like 2.5 hours. So
Okay.
It just seemed a bit silly to me to only be consuming one, but to each their own. If you don't want to win, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. And of course, we're being responsible. That's us, as we've always been. Yeah. Adam, what about you? What do you got going on?
Yeah, I think some of those names were a bit of a stretch, but we'll let it slide. So last week I tried to go back with my more hops, more votes theory. That clearly didn't hold up. So I just said, screw it. And so I'm moving on. So I went with something from Topa Topa Brewing Company in Ventura, California. It's called The Way Forward is Back. It's an American-style IPA. There's only 3 types of hops, and the tasting notes are pineapple, orange, and lychee. I forget. I don't know how to pronounce it. So
I don't eat fruit.
Yep.
That's a good. Okay, fair. You attempted it. You didn't hide it. I appreciate that. So-
I should have just said it confidently, and that would have probably gone over a lot
yeah,
better,
nobody would have
but-
questioned you, but as soon as you hesitated, I mean, hey man, get your hesitation out of the way now, because when you start throwing out the draft picks, you want to make sure you know what you're talking about, especially when it comes to history. I thought, I always try and be topical, as we all do. Inventions, that's a tough one. Walking through the beer store, but what was one of man's first inventions? That was weapons.
The internet.
Nailed it. Yeah. Also, tools, right? They first thing was tools. So I found a brewing company called Spearhead Brewing Company. So this is a New England IPA, and I also have an American Pale Ale. It's a 7%, so it's a little bit stronger. But I thought, hey, should be good, and I got a second one ready to go because we all learned our lesson from last week that it's not just draft, it's drafts and drafts.
Just quickly, I just looked a little further at the Sparkle Puff. It is 10.2% and has the words "exploring realms of deep, dank space."
Okay.
So it found me, you could say, as opposed to vice versa.
I think it probably found your haircut at this point, but
It is spicy.
All right. And a couple quick things. Just one more rule for those that don't know. This one could be interesting this week. We do have a veto. So if somebody goes outside the lines of one of the categories, the other two parties can drop a veto. We'll look to chat to confirm if the veto makes sense. So make sure you're paying attention for that, especially when some of these inventions and the timing, could get a little bit tricky. And before we start the draft, we got to figure out the order. And as you may or may not know, we here on our show, because Adam and I are generous guys, we let the guest pick where they want to end up, and then Adam and I will flip for whatever's left over. So Furlong, where out of a first, second, or third choice, what are you thinking? Okay. What's your strategy behind there? Why are you going first? For the record, Kitty Cat demolished last week with the second pick. So what are you thinking going first here?
Trailblazer, first of all. I'm not going to be following anyone else's footsteps, but I think there's a couple categories that have an overwhelming favorite, or there's a pick that I really want. And if I pick second, I never have control of the board. So I will go first to have control.
All right. So for future guests, we'll see if this strategy works, depending on how he does compared to last week's guest. All right. So without further ado, we will jump into the ceremonial coin flip. So I have this coin, which, by the way, was given to me by the one man in this chat who has lived with all of us for some period of time, Mr. Enchuri. So I will flip it. And Adam, call it in the air. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tails never fails.
It is tails. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna pick third.
That's fair. Okay. And I'm guessing you wanted same thing. You want to be able to choose some of your categories?
I feel like Furlong's gonna take the one I want, but as long as I control the category, I think it'll be okay.
Okay, fair enough. Well, without further ado, as soon as Furlong's finished...
No, I'm here.
Okay. Putting his hair into a single bun instead of a double ponytail. Furlong, why don't you jump right in and let us know which category you're going to go with first and what your first overall pick will be.
So it was between two categories for me to start. I'm going to open with fictional.
The fictional invention. Okay. So for the record, fictional invention is something that you would want for yourself, not for necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So for this one, I was trying to think of something that would just always be useful, that, I would have always really wanted in my life. And I'm going to take the magic school bus. I think it's almost a no-brainer here. The school bus itself can transform into just about anything, but it's also, it's educational. Everything I've seen about it, it just teaches you life lessons as well as learning about the world around you. And maybe that baddie Miss Frizzle comes along with it. I don't know. And that just really appeals to me. So I'm going first pick, first overall, magic school bus.
Well, Adam, as you know, Miss Frizzle is undefeated thus far in drafts. How do you feel about him taking that one right out of the gate?
It's a repeat pick, so not that original if we're scoring it on that. Magic School Bus, it's cool. Yeah, it's a good pick, but I feel like there's more options on the board.
Okay, Arnold.
We did, by the way, get a question. Does Miss Frizzle come with the bus?
We don't know, but that's a coin flip.
We're gonna say no for now. It's bus, just the bus.
We don't know.
Just
we
the
don't
bus.
know.
She'll teach you how to drive it, and then she'll leave you.
Okay, drive it. I like that.
I don't think she does, and you have to question: does the magic come from Miss Frizzle or does it come from the bus?
Ooh.
Okay, so if you pick something that needs electricity, does it use electricity or is it an invention? What are you trying to nitpick here, buddy? Stay in your lane here.
All right. Well, that's a good pick. Yeah, hard to argue. You can go on some pretty cool adventures. You might want to tidy yourself up before you start driving a bus around, but that's all good. With my first pick of this round, I am going to go a different direction, and I'm going to go with the Iron Man suit. And preferably, if I need to get specific, I'm going to go with the nanobots in the later movies, because obviously there's way more technology available. I'm not taking nanotechnology off the board. I'm just saying the nanobot suit in the last, I guess, 2 movies is what I would pick. Number one, obviously, as you can, for those watching can see, I'm a big Avengers fan. I just think, I'm not saying I want to be Tony Stark or anything. I just think like that, you can fly everywhere. You're essentially Superman in a suit. You can do whatever the heck you want. You're always protected. It's got so many cool features, Sentry mode, all the technology that comes with it, Jarvis Friday, everything. So
Sentry mode's the one you're excited about? That's the one where you don't do anything.
Well, you could just leave. Man, I will sleep well at night if I have Sentry mode just chilling outside my room. But yeah, no, obviously you the rest of the technology is clearly better. I'm just saying as an example. And so I think like of all the personal things like I would want for me, I gotta go with the Iron Man suit.
That's a good pick. I respect that one. It was on my list.
Adam?
Yeah, it wasn't on my list. I was considering it. Seems like a lot of upkeep, but maybe I'm just nitpicking here again.
Okay.
I'm excited for your pick, Adam.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
All right. What do you got?
I'm going more simple here, and I'm going to go with the portal gun from Rick and Morty. So I get to travel to like alternate universes, and I can basically go there, come back to this one, so I get teleportation as well. If I want to do stuff like in the Magic School Bus where I'm really small, I'm sure I could go to a universe where everyone's really giant. I can go to a universe with infinite possibilities. So I'm happy with the portal gun. And I'm going to take the portal gun.
Do you know how to program it for those universes, or are you just going to wing it and hope you get the one you want?
I assume it comes with a user guide, but
okay.
That's just,
But the Magic School Bus doesn't. I actually, that one was one of my top 3, but the reason I stayed away from it was just sometimes it gets really scary when he does stuff, and I didn't like that, so I didn't want to do that. Whereas the Magic School Bus felt safe, but it's a good pick. I respect.
Yeah,
that.
I assume I'm going to try to go to more of the safer universes.
Mm-hmm.
And if things go terrible here, I can always just dip out and go to a different one. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just noticed we had a comment in the chat, which was remote from Click, and that was actually
that's number 2 on my list.
But in the movie, he like can't control, like he loses control of it, and that was a big factor for me. Where I was like, he starts to fast forward, and then it automatically does that for him, and he's skipping parts of his life. So that was
the time travel stuff definitely comes with a lot of outside of your control. Like we get into a whole realm of like the repercussions, and then so
you can't go into it too much. You just gotta hope that Adam is a good master of the multiverse.
Apparently, yeah, Doctor Strange over here. Okay, Adam, you have the board.
Yeah, there was one category that I didn't feel like was that deep. So I'm going to go that one. I'm going to go infomercial product, and I'm going with the magic bullet.
Wow, so, that was not what I expected.
Agreed, not what I was expecting.
So in college or university, every house had a magic bullet. The infomercial is fantastic. They're making queso. They're making blended drinks.
What did we use our magic bullet for? Do you remember by any chance?
I used it to blend single-serving smoothies.
Oh, okay.
And milkshakes.
Okay.
So that's what I used.
Yeah.
That's what I used it for.
Yeah,
It
no, that's
can't
good.
it can't quite do everything that it claims it can do, but it's pretty good. And even if it breaks, you still get the cups. The plastic cups are a staple in any college or university household. So
Plastic cups, great pick.
magic bullet. I'm happy with it.
Can I ask a question? Not that it's a bad pick,
Yeah.
but well, actually, that's a criticism I'm opening. I just like what is the revolution? Like, what does it offer that like a convention? I mean, I don't want to literally turn this into an infomercial, but what does it offer that a conventional like? I just think it's so close to like.
How many infomercials products actually revolutionize something though? I think that it.
Well, this is a great
good
segue.
Product. It was a good product. I
Well,
like that pick.
Yeah. What can't it do? That's the real question.
Okay.
And it can do a little bit of everything. It's basically a personal sized blender that you can put in the dishwasher. The bigger blenders are difficult to clean, so
yeah,
I like to use the magic bullet.
Okay, no, listen, great choice. Practical. My pick, I thought there's a lot of funny ones that you can go with. I'm not going to name them because Furlong's still got to go. But I thought what was practical, successful, and you genuinely want to use, and it works. And especially dating back to when we all knew each other from the college days, I got to go with the George Foreman grills. And these things have been around for a long time. They're widely used. They're very affordable. You don't have a barbecue, but you still want to make a steak. You want to grill your foot, make some fresh bacon in the morning, step out of bed, it's there.
Delicious. It's good for me.
It's true. And so, I think they're so easy to use, easy to store, all different types of food. Obviously, I enjoy eating all kinds of different meat and grilling different things. So in terms of practicality, longevity, affordability, I think it hits all the notes. And so, yeah, I got to stick with the George Foreman grills.
That was my second overall pick, so no complaints here.
I think it's only good for paninis. I think it's just a glorified panini press, personally.
That's one of many uses. You can make steaks, chicken breasts, paninis, all kind. You can do it. You can do everything. I mean, it's a two-sided grill.
Meat.
Is it really a grill though? It's just like an electric.
It's literally
grill.
a George Foreman grill. That's what it's called.
What do you mean? Is it a grill? What else would it be? Like what?
But it's not like charcoal. It's an electric powered grill. So like if I'm cooking chicken or I'm cooking steak, I'm gonna use a cast iron over a George Foreman.
Okay, so not all of us, have the means and the bougie lifestyle of living in Santa Monica and then Lana Del Rey or wherever it is you live now. And some people, it's quick, easy, affordable, and healthy.
And we're all, if you live in tight quarters and you don't have room for a giant 30-pound pan and you just want to you want to do all, anyways. Wow. Sorry that we don't all baste our steaks in butter with I listen, I know you're a great cook, so maybe it offends you a little bit, but I think it's a great item. So, all right, Furlong, what do you got as your first overall pick that seems to still be available?
So this pick I think is a good combination of, like a product that everybody knows, everybody talked about, but it actually kind of like infomercials in general. There's two veins. There's like over the top ridiculous ones like the slap chop, and basically Vince was the reason we liked the slap chop before he went to jail for hitting a prostitute or whatever he did, which is crazy. So, but the slap chop in like functionality isn't that great. I feel like this was actually kind of like had the novelty, but also the functionality, and that's the Snuggie. I actually know a bunch of people who had Snuggies. In fact, there were multiple Snuggies in the houses that we used to, go to in university. Basically, I think that one of the housemates had one. I know he did for sure. And the Snuggie actually like works. Like you have a blanket on, but also arms. And so it makes sense to me. Whereas it filled a niche, it hit the market it was trying to, while also being kind of funny. And that to me is the perfect infomercial item. So I'm going with a Snuggie. I have a Snuggie. I got one for, I think, like 3 of my family members because they were like $10 for Christmas. Saved a bunch of money. Great choice overall. I like the Snuggie.
Well, our mutual former roommate says he has a photo of you in a leopard print Snuggie, which,
Of course, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was fashionable. I was probably just crushing the catwalk at whatever point I was wearing it. I think it's I'm happy that I got it. It was actually my first pick, and it came to me in the last round. So
Yeah, and you know, I think it's a good choice. If we're talking like, because when we did this category, we left it pretty open. It was not necessarily the actual best infomercial. It was more about the product, I think. And it was like, you know, is it the best one? Is it the most useful? We kind of left it open to interpretation. Listen, the Snuggie, like it's like you know, it's funny that we all pick something that's just like, oh, it's a grill but with two sides, or it's a blender but smaller, or it's a blanket with arms. Like we didn't pick revolutionary products.
That's
but
infomercial. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
that's why they're sold at 3 a.m. to people who have consumed too much cannabis. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I could have my arms out. Oh, I could grill quick. Like that's the niche of an infomercial.
Yeah, and there's a few people saying, and I agree, I thought you were going to jump into the shake weight, so I'm surprised by that.
So there's funny ones, but like that actually sucks as a product.
I agree.
Snuggie is
I
a
agree.
good product.
I think you would have lost that. All right, let's
Sham wow. Someone just said that in the chat. Good choice.
One last thing on the Snuggie is I did have a Snuggie, and my mother made it for me, and it was Thomas the Tank Engine. So
very nice. So
wow,
that hits the sentimental notes for you.
What? Yeah, that's just a heartwarming, feel-good story about my choice. Thank you.
Okay, so
she also bought me a magic bullet. So
did she make it for you, or did she buy it? Because one of them is crafted with love, and the other one is just consuming the capitalist regime. Okay. I see.
All right. Furlong. On that note, why don't you select the next category here?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with historical invention, which is 1800 or back. And a couple reasons I'm choosing this one. I think that this category has one answer that is, out of all the categories, this is the best answer for the category, undeniably. The problem is, it's because of the fact I love history and I know the impact that it had as a web, and I don't have 3 or 4 years to explain why it was so important. But I'm still going to go with it. Historical invention that I'm taking is the printing press. The printing press, not to lecture, but the printing press was responsible for more of an advancement and more impact on basically modern. It resulted in the end of the quote unquote dark ages and us advancing as a civilization more than just about anything. It revolutionized so many things. It allowed for the transfer of knowledge, the transfer of language. It actually was responsible after the printing press. People could do things like make flyers, and then flyers created travel because people could promote other things. And that's how basically things like, the champagne as an alcohol is from the fields of Champagne. The reason that that's relevant is because Champagne was a focal point where traders would meet after the printing press was created. There's just so many trickle down effects that go forward from the printing press. So the reason it really speaks to me, and I need to gobble that one up. So that's my choice.
That's good. Yeah, I was a history major. It was number 2 on my list. I had the Johann Gutenberg circa 1440. Right. It was up there. Can't argue too much. I mean, that was a full.
I could do a dissertation about it, but it's great. I love it.
Well, I mean, we know that Adam can barely read and spell, so I don't know if he's going to be offended by that pick, but
not important to me at all. I don't understand this one at all, but
that's okay.
Okay, fair pick. I'm going to go with one that. So just for everybody to refresh, historical invention. The category is 1800 or before is what we're limiting this to. I'm going to barely sneak in there. And this was 1796. Adam's smiling because I think he knows what I'm going to pick. And I'm going to go with vaccines. And the first smallpox vaccine was administered by Edward Jenner in 1796.
Eddie.
And then word spread over the next couple of years. And obviously, where we are now versus where we were in 1796, very different places. But just in terms of, life-saving abilities, obviously there was lots of things that advanced civilization. But number one, obviously very topical in today's current pandemic environment. And number two, just the sheer, I think the sheer scientific advancement combined with what it's done for health and wellness overall over the last few hundred years, I got to go with vaccines.
So So for the record, you believe in vaccines. You're not an anti-vaxxer.
Questionable.
Correct, I do. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
I will state that on the record.
Yeah.
Very bizarre.
I really don't think you're going to get any of the anti-vaxxer votes, but that's a risk you're willing to take.
I'm going to take that risk. I gotta stick with what I believe in. Yeah.
I would, just to nitpick about that a little bit. In the modern times, we're still having trouble getting vaccines out. So how good can they really be?
They're so in demand because they're, how many printing presses?
How
many printing presses are people trying to buy right now?
Seems inconvenient is all I'm saying.
Okay.
No, that was my second choice as well.
Yeah, so, I had printing presses number 2. So there you go. All right.
Oh, let's see what Adam picks.
Yeah, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, a bit of a mix up here. I thought it was before 1900, so I have a list of 3.
Yeah, you did. He did say before 1900.
You said 19th century.
No, he said the 1900s, and you corrected him. And I was like, no, he didn't say 19th. He didn't say 19th century. Anyways, we can go back and check. Adam, as the biggest lecturer in the world on this, check the tape. We talked about this. Anyways,
wow.
Yeah. That's on me. Hand up. Hand up. That one's on me.
I'll tell you what, just out of curiosity, first, why don't you give your choice for 1900? Just out of curiosity. And if it's if it poses no threat to me, I'll let it pass.
I was going to go batteries, but we can move on from that. So I'm gonna go with language.
I am gonna veto that.
Language?
The reason that I'm gonna veto it is because, or not veto, but well, I guess I'm just advocating on your behalf. But a couple of the things that I was thinking about with inventions in general are things that exist versus things that did not exist and then were created. And animals use language. Like there is communication. Like for example, calculus. Calculus exists whether we know it or not. So saying like calculus is your invention, it's like the understanding of calculus. Now, the reason that I'm nitpicking here is language, I think, is too broad, but I think there are things you could narrow it down to that would be acceptable.
Yeah, I was going to try to go with that one. I was kind of thinking it's a 50-50 if it gets vetoed or not, so I'm fine with it getting vetoed.
It's yeah.
So I'm gonna switch to paper. Something that without paper, the printing press is completely useless, I think.
That's very true. I will not even try to argue that.
And so it seems like prior to paper, all ideas were transferred through word of mouth.
Excuse me, as a chat user points out, hieroglyphics.
Oh, hieroglyphics. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Anyways,
but those are difficult to decipher. Paper is much more easy to transport. Yeah. So I think just in terms of distributing ideas, paper is great for that.
Stone tablets are portable.
So that was if you were going, I actually think that's a great. I'm also going to give you like paper, papyrus, like. The writing
scrolls
thing you write on is like what you're saying, which is good.
Yeah, but paper's useless without a pen, and a pen is useless without ink. And we can
what are we saying?
I know. I'm just saying. Paper. Yeah, paper's a good pick.
What was your choice? Vaccines. Well, you can't do that without needles, so you can't pick.
I know.
We're just splitting hairs. But the one thing I will say about paper, and then Timmy kind of commented on it, which is the like stone tablet. When you said language, if you'd have been like the Rosetta Stone, I think you could make some arguments about like things that were like the basis of language, but paper in general is very solid. It allows for the transfer of knowledge between generations and populations. So it's I respect it.
All right.
Yeah. I was pretty flustered with realizing that most of my picks were 1800, but that's on me.
I honestly think that may be better than batteries.
Paper is paper might be better. That was a good save. Yeah, no, you're doing okay. But
yeah, that was a good recovery.
You have a great chance.
You should have just said something.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
We could have worked something out.
That's okay.
No, this is cutthroat. Come on.
I'm gonna go with first overall inventor.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll see if this one slides to you. You know what? I'm pushing boundaries. Is it okay if I go with both Wright brothers? Is that fine?
I think so.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think Wright brothers
Okay.
are together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the Wright brothers. I think if I was like starting a company, I'm pretty even keel, and I need some people a little crazy. I think trying to fly for the first time is a ridiculous thing, especially when you don't have any like safety precautions. Maybe a bicycle helmet at most. They're innovative. They weren't afraid to take risks. I think they would be a fine addition to the Atomy team.
Aren't you afraid of
Uh,
birds?
he doesn't
Yeah.
like things that move in a medium different than themselves, ergo fish, snakes, or birds. But he's not necessarily afraid of them. He just doesn't like that because he can't really understand how it works.
Yeah. And so I can help design the planes. They just will test them out. I don't have to do any testing.
Okay, so first overall inventor, the way I interpret it, based on our discussions, is it's your idea person or people in this case, but it's your idea
Yep.
person, right? So,
Yeah.
hey, the Wright brothers did great things, but you just picked somebody that said, hey, I just want to get off the ground. That's my idea, and I'm just gonna stack wings on wings on wings until it works, and pedal a bicycle until I and jump off a cliff. Like, you know,
I think
they did some cool things, but like that, they had it was a one directional idea. You know, it was, and they were like, this is what I'm doing. And so I'm just, you know, I don't see any diversity there.
I think it's the mindset that I'm after here. And they heard people saying, you can't do that. And they tried it until they did. So I'm fine with that mentality on my team.
Okay. Furlong?
It's an interesting pick. It wasn't on my list.
Wasn't on
that
my
doesn't mean
list.
it's bad, but it's an interesting pick. I think you justified it. Your justification validates the pick more. I think without you explaining why you picked it, it's kind of weird. But you saying like that, like just fearless, try to do something that's just humanity can't even really conceptualize before you try to do it. That's what you want. That's a good reason. I can accept that.
It was between them and a guy who found 300 different ways to use peanuts. So
Was
you
it
just made it
Mr.
worse.
Peanut?
no, and
Oh,
one of them,
man.
and none of them were peanut butter actually. So
Wow.
All right. Well, you left some of the big hitters
Big ones
open.
up.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that. And we didn't put a time period on this. It can be anybody from history. So there's obviously big names modern, and there's big names in the past. I'm gonna go with one because if I want an idea guy, I'm looking for somebody that's forward thinking. I want futuristic, creative, in like essentially a genius, and multi-talented. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm going with Leonardo Da Vinci. And the reason I'm doing this is this guy has recorded designs and thought processes for things hundreds of years in the future, including the helicopter, the battle tank, submarines, and robots over the course of his lifetime. They have found designs and drawings and plans for these things. So we're talking about something that's, you know, if you want an idea guy, if you want somebody that is going to give you the impossible and try and make it possible, I think he's the way to go. He's obviously extremely talented at all sorts of things. And, you know, if you took somebody with his creativity and his brain in modern times now, what he could do with current technology, I'd be astounded. So I'm going to bring somebody from the very past history to today's time, and I'm hiring Leonardo da Vinci.
I have a lot to say about this one.
I'm sure you do. But you also, keep in mind, have a classics degree to
No, yeah.
so to go easy on me.
I think that was one of the top two for me. The reason that I was debating that, and I won't go too much into it, is a couple things. He had an unbelievable amount of ideas, but so many of them were awful. Like his actual idea for the tank was terrible. It was just not a great idea. And so that I think is a dangerous thing to do. Is he had all of these great ideas, like you're saying, but a lot of them, the vast majority of them, were like not great. But if you're using him as like a think tank, then he's good. Now the counter to that would be it was a lot easier in ancient times to be innovative and come up with things that didn't exist, because there was way less that existed. Like now, to come up with something that's innovative, that fills a need, all these things, like you're basically you're basically you can't do it. Whereas when he was creating these ideas, like what about flight? What about, you know, submarines? He was thinking outside the box, but like that's because no one had yet. So the reason I was skeptical about him was I don't know if, you know, if he came to the modern times and saw that all these things existed, I think he may be flummoxed. But overall, I would say I think that's actually
That's
a
a
good pick.
deep
Although he sucked as
hypothetical.
like an artist. He wasn't a good artist.
That's
so
that's a deep hypothetical, but I get what you're saying. However, you know, you can't. It's the same thing with sports athletes. You can't hold the era against.
You
the
can't
person.
fault him for when he was born.
Exactly.
He
So
did, yeah, okay, that's fair.
anyways, yeah, you're right. He's probably wastes a bunch of money until he finds the big one. But yeah, I'm okay with that.
Probably doesn't have PowerPoint on his resume either, which is kind of a necessary skill I'm looking for, but you know, that's fine.
PowerPoint.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Is that okay? So then it comes to me, and I actually thought that this might be the first overall pick in the first category because I thought that this was maybe a no-brainer. I'm going Tesla, and here's why. So Tesla has become almost like he's very relevant in the modern zeitgeist because everybody's like Edison is a fraud, which is there's a lot that's true about that, and Edison has been overhyped to a certain extent. So now Tesla, the like kickback with him, and then also the movie The Prestige, kind of, you know, Tesla is just like
Fantastic
a
movie.
neat idea now. So the reason that I actually think he's a good pick is because Tesla was like, in terms of what we're trying to do, which is come up with the best inventor, Tesla was less so about actually like, you know, Edison found someone who was kind of doing the light bulb and then just basically strong armed it, stole it, and said it was his. Tesla was just like doing these crazy ideas, these like out of like these extravagant things because he was conceptualizing these things that no one else was, and then he would just go do it regardless of the like efficacy of how it would impact him as an inventor. And that I think is the true essence of an inventor. He was coming up with these ideas and then acting them out and inventing things and doing whatever he wanted because he was just like brilliant. Whereas Edison was way more concerned with like marketing or like being the person who invented this thing. And Tesla was less so that. And I think that if I was to have, you know, like a company and there was a guy in a room who was just inventing stuff and pumping them out, like who knows with the modern technology what Tesla would create. Like I think it would be incredible. So that's why I pick him.
He's an interesting choice because he was on the verge of the electricity breakthrough and what that led to in terms of modern technology. No argument there. I'm not a Tesla expert, but I know he was on my list. So I had a few things that he had invented, and as chat pointed out, that he was kind of not a founder, but had early ideas about wireless communications and radar and all that kind of stuff, which obviously for his time, incredibly advanced. I'm not going to argue with it. I like he probably didn't get as much credit as he was due until recently. I'm
happy with the pick, even, you know, like
I think he was on everybody's top 5. It was just how much he got. I thought the Wright brothers were not going to be a first overall pick.
That
personally,
didn't even cross my radar.
No, it wasn't on my. It wasn't on
it didn't even cross my Tesla coil or whatever he made.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, Adam's going with what he believes in, and
yeah, the wireless communication stuff that he was working on is great. I think he kind of got too obsessed with wireless power, and it seems like he spent a lot of money and time doing that.
For sure. And I won't even try to deny that. That's almost one of the reasons that like I picked him, is because like he was just obsessive about these like concepts and ideas that he had and like would pursue them like, you know, to these like incredible lengths. And that's why I think that like he combines that like inventor drive with brilliance, and that's who I want.
Fair. Okay. Well,
probably didn't know when to pivot though. So if you're starting a company with him, I don't know.
Okay.
Says the guy that picked the Wright brothers because they refused to say no when people told them they were wrong. Just you know.
There's some talks about Edison in the chat. To those people, I suggest just there's like a lot of stuff about Edison that is not great, and also he did some, like, there were female inventors, ethnic
questionable
inventors
things
that he just stole from, strong arm, took the ideas. So it's just he's a good choice, but I didn't even want to get involved with him. Plus, Tesla did the cool like electric thing.
I did see somebody put hashtag cancel Edison, which I thought was pretty funny. So
are you canceling Edison? I see. Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that rounds up first overall inventor. Furlong, it is over to you.
I'm going millennial.
So for the record, this is post 2000 or later. Inventions from 2000 or later.
So I think that there's a clear front runner in this category. I'm happy that I got it. I'm going to go with the iPhone, and for a bunch of different reasons. I think the iPhone fits the qualifications of impactful invention in like almost every way. So in terms of the technology advancement, we all remember, well, not we all, but my fellow 30-year-olds and around that age group remember the cell phones that were flip phones. You had to dial on them, that Nokia phone that you could throw at the Hulk and it would one shot them because it was indestructible, those phones. And when the iPhone came out, it was like nothing else that we had ever seen. And then it just caught basically the entire societal culture like nothing had ever done. But even independent of those things, the iPhone to me represents all of the knowledge that's ever existed that we have amalgamated online with the internet. The iPhone allows you to access that wherever you are all the time. And that ushered in a new era, which is the era of information, which is actually seems to be dying a little bit now. And we have a new era potentially coming in. But the era of information, whereas you can Google anything on your phone wherever you are all the time. And no existence in humanity has ever been nearly like that. Like, I remember before, you'd be at school and someone would say like, yeah, in Pokemon Blue, if you go up to this one rock and touch it, Mew spawns. And no one could fact check that because we're like, I don't know. And I used to do that. I would go home and try these things out. Now someone just pulls their phone out and they're like, no, you can't. And the iPhone is a representation of that. So I'm taking the iPhone.
So for those that don't know, that was 2009, 2008,
2007 was what I have in my notes, but
I'd argue that fair. I mean, I think the smartphone changed like our modern history. Yeah. I mean, I think it was very high on my list. I mean, there's people watching this right now on their iPhones. There's people, I mean, you think about how much time we spend every day. Like whenever you get that screen time report and you're like, holy crap, I need to change my priorities. No, I mean, good pick. It's not the only way to access the internet, but it's obviously the most convenient, the most portable, and it also like totally revolutionized Apple and what direction they were going. And yeah, hard to argue with that one. I think it's a good choice. Adam, what do you think?
I think it's a little bit more about the networks than the piece of hardware itself, but I think it's a good pick. The touchscreen definitely revolutionized some stuff. We all went from kind of BlackBerry style devices to touchscreens, and now those are just the standard.
Yeah.
So
even if that was a little bit long-winded, which is my expertise about why the iPhone was important, but if you look at it just in terms of the iPhone put Apple on the map, and look at Apple now, right? Like it's the one of the biggest companies that is out there. So I don't know. I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay, I'm gonna. It's fair. I'm gonna go a bit different, and I'm gonna go with what is essentially, I don't want to call it online streaming because it's not necessarily live streaming, but essentially my focus is on YouTube. And YouTube was launched in 2005. Obviously, clearly one of the biggest websites in the world in terms of traffic and data. Huge transfer of information at this point. Any source, similar to, I understand people are going to argue about Wikipedia and things and other websites, but just in terms of mass transfer of information, data, knowledge, I think it's colossal at the size and scale, and there's nothing that you can't figure out how to learn or how to do without watching a YouTube video. And I think that had a major influence on live streaming in general, and its popularity. And I don't want to get too into it because obviously nobody wants to hear me just drone on about it. But just in terms of you see what companies like Netflix and other things turn into, where this on-demand video streaming service changed how we consume media. And so I think YouTube was a massive invention post 2000.
It was my second overall pick. There's nothing you can argue about it. It's a good shot.
What-
Good choice.
What was the first video you watched on YouTube? Do you remember?
I don't think so. No, do
First
you?
video.
Mine was Lazy Sunday, the SNL digital short.
Really?
Wow. I think
Yeah.
mine may have been the evolution of dance.
Adam, what do you got?
All right, I'm gonna go with something that was pretty stale. It was the same way for a long period of time, and then in the post 2000 era, they decided to revolutionize it, and that is the Doritos Locos Taco from Taco Bell. Oh wait, sorry, no, it's the self-driving car. I'm going with the self-driving car.
Okay,
Um,
I thought you were serious.
Wow, you actually had me in the
I
first
thought
half.
you were
I'm not gonna
serious.
lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a car, you can choose to drive it, but a lot of times when you're getting places, you don't really care about actually driving it. You're stuck in traffic. It's never fun to just sit in traffic. It's always better if your car just drives itself. Then you can just sit there, watch YouTube on your iPhone, but you don't have to worry about driving. And so they have self-driving cars now. They have a variety of them. And I think it's like fundamentally going to change the way we interact, and it just gives something that gives you more free time. So I'm always down with that. So I'm going with the self-driving car.
I think it's a good pick, but I think you're like 10 years too early.
That's the only thing I was going to say.
I don't think it's fully
is
impacted. It's like if I said the iPhone in 2008, you'd be like, yeah, this is cool, but we don't know what it's going to be yet. We don't know what it's going to lead to.
Although
Like-
to be fair, you do live in just an incredibly high-end society, a very bourgeoisie lifestyle. Is that the word I'm looking for? So maybe you have
Bougie,
these
I think you wanna say
self-driving cars
bougie.
that bougie, yeah, and we don't have them yet as the general population.
I don't have one, and
Mm.
I'm not really that bougie because I still enjoy a nice Doritos Locos Tacos from Taco Bell. So
If you had picked that, I would have just been so into it and behind you. But
it was on my list. If all my
Should-
ideas
should
got
not have
taken, I
been
was
on
like,
the
I'm
list.
going Doritos Locos
should
Tacos.
not have been on your list. Yeah, no, like listen, I think that has the next big thing. I mean, like imagine you could drink and get in your car. You could
whoa, you want to drink and drive? Are you advocating that?
drink and get in the back seat of your car. Transportation for work purposes, road trips, everything is totally revolutionized when you don't have to pay attention to what you're doing in terms of driving. I just think it's too early. I just think it's not quite there. It's going to be there. Similar, like the electric car concept is huge now. 10 years ago, it was like still not quite there. So I think it's a good pick. I don't know how.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good pick, but we'll see.
Okay, and I think
All right.
are we on to our last one here?
Last category.
Okay. And I guess it is over to Adam for the last choice.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
so
sorry, not to interrupt, but I am going to interrupt. Before we do this category for the listeners and those in the chat, there were two, well, there may be more than two, but there were two ways that we really saw this being interpreted for biggest bust. There was either something that had a ton of hype that failed, or just the invention that sucks the most. And we decided, as the first triumvirate, that we would allow us to pick our own choice, and then as long as you just advocate on your own behalf, you as the viewers and the listeners could decide what you liked more. So we may have some like differing philosophies about what this encapsulates, but as long as you can advocate on your behalf, you should be good. And we actually have an advocate in our group, the lawyer, so he should win this, and if he doesn't, disgrace.
Okay. Pressure. So it is what, Adam, your first pick? Your first pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I really didn't want to go first for this one as well because I have no idea which way you guys are going to go. So I'm going to go with the wood paneling on cars.
Beaver panel?
They're
That's what we
stupid.
call it up north, I think.
No one wants those. Why are they on cars? The PT Cruiser tried to bring them back. Hated the PT Cruiser. No one likes the PT Cruiser. No one likes wood panels. I'm going with wood panels for cars on this side.
I agree with chat's initial reaction of highly random choice.
So I'm gonna weigh in quickly. I love it. I hope that maybe the next pick is on the same vein because I have one similar to that, which is just like a deep-seated hatred of an item that probably no one else cares about. And I really like that you took that avenue. So I applaud you. And I will say, when I was growing up, driving around with my sister, you know that game you used to play where like if you saw a Volkswagen Beetle, you could punch someone?
Yeah.
Did you ever play that?
Yeah, we played Woody, what was it called?
Yeah, I don't know. My sister
I called it Punch Buggy, but
Punch Buggy is what we called it, but
No,
we
the
had
wood
like a
panel
bunch of
one.
other ones that counted, like yellow car you
Yeah, we
could
had
punch.
yellow
But
car.
if you saw a PT Cruiser with beaver paneling is what we call it, if you saw that, you could do any amount of pain you wanted to the my sister and I would play this, and it was just horrendous. Like immediately parents shrieking to stop, like punches, hair pulling, like just there's a PT Cruiser with beaver panels. So I'm a huge supporter of that. I really like where you went there.
I mean, in my head, I don't view it as like an invention. It's just like a thing that they.
Well, did it exist before people? No friggin' way. So yeah, it's an invention.
Okay.
and then someone had to say, let's put fake wood on the side of that car. Let's do it.
You know what cars need? Wood. That's what they need.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going in a different, not a different direction. I just think this is the stupidest invention that I have come across. And this is something called the baby cage. And the baby cage was designed for people that lived in smaller places that had windows. And what they would do is they would take a cage similar to an air conditioner and they would stick it out the window and hook it into the window.
Okay.
And put the baby in the cage, and that would be the baby's like crib, if you were. So there's just a baby hanging out the window in a cage, just relying on the hooks, and it was designed to, save you space in your apartment or a townhome or whatever. And I can't imagine a dumber way to store your child. So I'm gonna go with the baby cage.
So you know what we don't have space for in this apartment? A child.
A child.
Yes.
What a wild invention.
I've seen the pictures and it is just shocking. You're like 40 stories up and your kid's just murping around with a bunch of pigeons on top. Insane. Great choice. And I'm happy because now I get to pick what I was going to pick. And I think the stupidest invention, transition glasses. If you have transition glasses,
good choice.
If anyone in chat does, it's on site for me when I see you. Transition, the only people I ever knew who had them were the worst. And like, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's a chicken and the egg thing. I don't know what came first. The just weirdest people ever having them or those making you into the weirdest person ever. But transition glasses, like what? Terrible. Never, ever, ever the right choice. So I had 3 or 4 picks that were better than that, but I hate it. So that's where
there's not a lot of people I've seen that look cooler with the 60%
Nobody
shades.
does. What do you mean there's not a lot of people? You could give Ryan Gosling in what movie? In Blade Runner 2049 those glasses and his character sucks. They're awful.
So what's worse, cargo shorts or transition lenses?
Transition lenses.
All right. No, I mean, hey, I think the new test for whether something is cool is just put it on Ryan Gosling, and if he still looks like an idiot, it's probably not gonna.
That's a great benchmark.
Okay.
So I'm seeing in the chat, Zune, if we went like serious route, I think Zune. Well, we can get into that in the after show, but yeah, Zune in terms of serious is a great choice.
Like promising to bust, that would have been a really good one.
Google
yeah.
Plus.
Yeah, Google Glass. Although I don't even know yet if that's fully busted. But
all right, well,
I'd hydrogen blimps on my list.
Oh,
I had.
don't want to explode in a fiery death.
I had Smell-O-Vision, which was the 3D glasses for your nose. That did not go over very well. So that was another one that I had up there. But so Furlong, before we tally the results, I do want to ask, what the hell is going on in the scene behind you? I see a couple of photos and I see a Flacco jersey. What do we got there?
Quick, because with 3 people, I think this has been a very vocal pod, and I've been into it. So I'll go quickly over it. If you aren't able to see right now, I have 2 pictures over my shoulder. We, as a friend group, went on a, I guess, university trip to Punta Cana. One of them is myself and Timmy. I had to Photoshop it because we didn't have any pictures where we were doing like a questionable thing together. That was when we were getting cervezas thrown in our face. The game was called Cerveza Face. You'd play rock, paper, scissors, and if you lost, you just threw your beer in the other person's face. Cerveza Face. And this one over here is myself and Adam E. And it seems incredibly, there's like an electric current a la Tesla coming between the eyes, an unspoken, just something deep and underlying and urgent exists in that picture. So I decided to put those up to represent my friends.
I'm not sure what's hotter in that photo, the sun or your feelings for each other. It's not clear.
Well, let me just say, does the sun need sunglasses? But Adam
could use transitions, that's for sure.
Settle. Oh God. And
those were transitions.
At one point, I've been told that I look like the elite quarterback Joe Flacco. And then a couple years ago, out of the blue, I received a package from California that had this jersey in it. Denver is my favorite team. And it just said that I had won the Joe Flacco lookalike contest by John Elway, the GM of the Broncos. And I don't want to point fingers, but it was one of the darkest days of my life. So I decided to display these things.
And wait, who sent you the letter saying that you had won the lookalike contest?
It was John Elway, I'm pretty sure.
Was it John? I know it was on Broncos letterhead. I was very impressed. I saw the letter. So
it was quite the situation.
Yeah, that was good. Okay. Anyways, all right. So a couple of things. We're gonna run down the picks and wrap this up. For those of you that are watching, please make sure to smash that follow button. And we'll be posting the results and we'll be hosting the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, among others. And we'll also be posting it on YouTube shortly after, so you can find it there as well. But before we wrap this up, let's run through. So Furlong, why don't you give us a quick review of your picks?
Historical invention, I had the printing press. Infomercial, Snuggie. Fictional invention, I had the magic school bus. Millennial invention, I had the iPhone. First overall inventor, I had Nikola Tesla. And the biggest bust, I had transition sunglasses.
Still, I think that's my favorite pick. All right, Adam, what do you got?
For me, historical, I had paper. Infomercial, I had the magic bullet. Fictional, I had Rick's portal gun from Rick and Morty. Millennial, I had self-driving car. Inventor, I had the Wright brothers. And biggest bust, I had wood paneling for cars.
Very nice. And I had vaccines. I had George Foreman grills. I had the Iron Man suit. I had YouTube. I had Mr. Leonardo Da Vinci and the infamous baby cage from 1922. So we're going to be posting a rundown of our picks on our Instagram shortly after the show at Drafts and Drafts Podcast. You can jump on there and vote. And your votes are very important. It'll be up tonight as well as all day tomorrow, so you have lots of time to drop your vote in there to decide the winner. And before we completely wrap this up, let's just quickly check in on the other drafts of the evening. So, Adam, how was your beer this evening?
Wasn't anything to write home about, to be honest. Similar to my other draft, the worst one I've had so far. So,
oh wow, interesting. Furlong, we have a question asking whether you made it through
I
your
see.
3 beers.
I have one left, which I will be consuming during the after show. The other 2 were just extremely strong, but I didn't mind them. I will say that is my 4th or 5th beverage, and I must use the restroom. So we need
We'll wrap this up.
to get there.
For those that are watching live, make sure you stick around. We will be having an after show as usual, so make sure you check it out. My beer, the New England IPA, was very good. Spearhead, I am a fan. I would definitely have it again. Very easy to drink. I'm going to be having their pale ale during the after show, so I'm quite excited. And yeah, definitely it was flavorful, delicious, strong, but couldn't tell when you're drinking it. Very good. So the picks have been made. The keg has run dry. We will be back next week. We do this every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Here on Twitch. You can also find us on Spotify and on YouTube and other places to find your podcasts. We want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe. And I think that pretty much covers it. Adam, as I always need to ask, any last words?
I think I'm good this time. Yeah.
All right.
Not in terms of the draft, just how I'm feeling.
Okay. All right, guys. We'll be back for the after show soon. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.
See you guys.